This is Story Route Zero, a podcast where friends gather to talk of their travels through the good, the bad, the ugly, the funny, and even the confusing worlds encountered in games. We may not always know where we're going, but that's often half the fun. Do you have a question, comment, concern, or a story of your own? Hit us up on Twitter at storyroute_0. You can email us at storyroute0@gmail.com, and you can find everything we do at storyroute0.com. Let's have a journey. I never should have met you on that day. I was happy then until you stole my heart and disappeared again. Welcome to Story Route Zero. My name is Matthew. Got some friends with me, straight from the Savage Planet, and newly joining the Obilisk Games team, Jason Marshall. How are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm not near as tired this week as I was last week, but I'll tell you about that later. Mouth from the South, Moose.
What's up? How we doing, party people? Doing well.
Cool.
Well.
And we are minus a Captain Canada this week, but we are up a Chicago Blackhawks fan at Hypecaster on Twitter, Antonio Guillen.
Hello, everyone.
Former Platinum Achievements co-host. How are you, sir?
The good old days, Matthew.
Oh, yeah.
The good old days. I forgot, I just went through all of our old podcast episodes listening to some stuff. We had some great times.
We did when we weren't arguing. So, you are almost a mega dad, although
Yes.
you were part of the mega dads and you are licking your straw in a very lascivious way. Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
What's new, man? Long
Well,
time no speak.
yeah, we're expecting our first child in anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks. We think that she might be coming a little bit early. So,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm going to be a father. And I think that as with all gamers, who are going to be fathers, your first thought is like, oh God, what have I done? You know what I mean?
Definitely. Definitely.
And I'm very excited. I, again, recently joined Mega Dads. So if you want to check them out at Mega Dads blog, they do, podcasts that's all about like funny parenting stories and gaming, and two brothers who have now helped build what they have over years, now giving the reins to a couple other people. So they've built up the team. So now they added 3 contributors who are doing reviews and writing for them. And then also I'm still part of Nintendo Village. So if you look up at Village Nintendo, lots of great stuff going on there for all you Nintendo fans. And isn't Nintendo a really, family friendly company? Isn't that where you're going to play? You can't be playing GTA with your kid. I mean, you could. I am. Most people won't.
There are life lessons to be learned in GTA.
I mean, I feel that's like a later date type thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe when the kid's 17.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm comfortable sitting down my young daughter at like 3-4 years old and be like, here, turn this on. This is what the world is. This is how stuff works. Okay, go get him, kid.
Sweetie, if you kill the hooker afterwards,
Get
you
your
can
money
get your
back.
money back.
From my experience, and Matt will agree with me, Untitled Goose Game, perfect
Yes.
for children.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
very perfect
There
for
you
children.
go.
And it's on Switch.
I'm totally open to all recommendations. I mean,
man.
isn't it a thing though to be able to play a game with somebody watching, or with people or with kids? Like all that's going to matter so much more to me in the next couple weeks.
Buy a broken controller. You
Oh.
can use it. Trust me. It works. It works. Until they're about 5, it works. Then they're like, I'm not moving. Why am I
Aria
not
thinks
moving?
she's really good at Mario Kart right now. Crazy. Or should I have not said that? Did I just blow up your spot, Jay? So this is Story Route Zero. We talk about video games here, but first let's get the pleasantries out of the way. How was everybody's weekend, Antonio? How was your weekend? What'd you do?
For
You
the
watch the Super Bowl?
last, yeah, I did catch the Super Bowl.
Okay.
I I thought the game was great. You know, it was like close. You know, not a blowout, which was good. You like seeing people who
I like a comeback.
Yeah, that too. I mean, it was exciting, and you want to see people who've, you know, put it all out on the line, trying to like make something of themselves from young kids, just
Hmm.
achieving that goal. So that's always cool. But the last, if I'm not working, I'm working. If I'm not working, I'm working. Like I've been working
Sure.
on our house, getting the baby room set up. I've built cribs. I've painted like shelves. So a lot of my time is dedicated to house maintenance and baby prep. But the
Sure.
weekends are short, and I'm not sleeping much, and everything's awesome.
Embrace it, because
You
you're
are
just
you
gonna
are
be
the
the
embodiment.
norm.
You are the embodiment of that Amy Poehler gift. Everything hurts, and I'm dying.
You can become more productive. You
Yeah.
just use that to your advantage, not sleeping. Right,
Yeah.
Jason?
As he
Yeah.
holds up his double
Coffee.
espresso.
Yeah.
Speaking of sleep, I was
There's
like
whiskey in it.
I was staving off illness this weekend, so I got home from work on Saturday. I was able to play a little bit with Moose. I mean, we played for what, 2 hours, Moose?
Yeah.
And then after that, I went to sleep, and I woke up 23 hours later. So
Whoa.
yeah,
Must have
it
been
was.
nice.
Irony.
I bet you that felt good, like waking up and just being like,
I haven't done that.
wow.
Well, it's I think the immediate, like, I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, man, that had to have been awesome. But I remember immediately waking up and being completely disoriented. I'm like, wait, where, what day, who? Okay, Reba. All right, that's fine. Bagel. Okay, I remember where I am.
I
Like,
know who I am. I
wasn't
remember where I
kidnapped.
am.
I've
What
just
time-
been. I've
What
just been
time
here
did you go to sleep?
like between noon and 1.
Oh, okay. So you woke up like it'd be weird if you went to bed at like 11 p.m., woke up at like 10 p.m. the following day, and then like all of a sudden it's the next day too. You're like, hold on.
Yeah, no.
It's like 3
Yeah.
days.
At that point, that's why I'm glad I work overnights, because in this case, I only lost 1 day.
Wow.
But yeah, it was, and then like, wife was sick as well. Like we weren't like sick, but we were both like felt a little off. So we ended up staying in bed like most of the day. We completely
Coronavirus bummer.
I know, right? We completely abandoned like all adult duties. I watched a couple of European art films. She was watching
Oh.
her shows. It was a good time.
Good times.
Party animal.
I know,
Hey,
isn't he?
not safe for work, this guy. Jason, how was your weekend?
Not
What'd
bad.
you do?
Relaxing.
Cool.
The girls watched about half the game before they became gremlins.
Sure.
We went to a friend's house, and she lives like maybe 3 minutes away. And Aria's like, "Can I go to sleep on the way home?" No. We're about to turn like down our block. I'm gonna close my eyes. No. Florid. Get home quick.
What? Oh, now I'm not a parent, and I don't want to assume this is the same for all kids. But like, what does that mean for you? Like, what sort of is
So
that like?
if Amelia were to fall asleep, we just
Mhm.
take the car seat in, put her to the side. She sleeps.
Right.
A 5-year-old can't just take the car seat in. You gotta kind of pick her up, and
And when she's asleep, is she basically dead weight?
yeah, and she's already close to 50 pounds. So,
Whoa.
and you're like, this is, and we have to go upstairs, and it's like, but luckily I opened the door.
There's
and
this
she's
thing
like,
about a princess and a dragon. Is a whole thing.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. So we managed. The nap was short enough that she didn't hit that sweet spot of nope, we're out cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 5 minutes later, they all went to bed.
Sweet.
But it was a relaxing weekend. Didn't really
Cool.
do much other than that. I mean, I finished my review of
You did.
Journey to the Savage Planet.
We'll be talking about that shortly.
Ooh,
Moose, what'd you do?
I had the weekend to myself because my wife had to watch our niece from my sister-in-law because they went to Greensboro for a farm bureau meeting type thing. Her husband did, so my sister-in-law went, and then so did my nephew. So it left like my niece, and so my wife watched her. So then Saturday, just played some Ashen with you, and then switched over from Ashen to Borderlands and just farmed shit ton of legendaries because of the glitch right now. And then kind of did the
Is
same
it a glitch
thing.
or a feature?
It's a glitch.
It's a little of both.
There's a feature that stacks on a glitch, if that makes sense. So basically right now...
No, it's the other way around.
We call that a flitch.
It's the other way around. It's a glitch on top of a feature.
No, the glitch is already in the game. The feature that's out now unlocks the legendaries for the glitch.
Okay, fine.
Flitch.
All right, hey.
Flitch
Don't argue
lives.
this way. Anyway,
This is
so you can...
You know what?
So,
I know when Moose is alone because we'll be in chat and he'll be like, what should I do? It'll be like 8 o'clock at night. What should I do for lunch tomorrow? It's like, what? Lunch tomorrow? I haven't go to bed yet. And then it's like, oh, Kelly's not home this week. He's already planning like his meal.
Well, because we usually go wherever she wants to go when she's home, and so like I'm like, man, should I get like this thing that I never get when she's not here? Like, you know, you got to enjoy that time.
And he's like,
you know?
I can get I can get an extra large pizza. It could be breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like the wheels are turning.
Oh man, no! See, that's where you're messing up. You got to get 2 pizzas, and then just gorge yourself for breakfast, and then just hold out till dinner.
Can't do that. I can't
know.
do that anymore. It's not. I mean, unless it was thin crust.
Well, see,
or like regular New York style.
I still can. I should.
Well, I can too, and I shouldn't either. But anyway, so I did a lot of Borderlands farming, got some new gear, new loot, played some Dark Souls, and then today I had off because I wanted to take it off because of the day after the Super Bowl, and then like didn't really do anything for the Super Bowl. Like Kelly and I got some food for the house, and then I hooked up my digital antenna so we didn't have to go anywhere, and so we just hung out in the house. I watched all of it, and then switched back over to I started playing Dark Souls again.
Okay.
And so now I'm working. I have a level 90 PvP character, and now I'm building a level 120 PvP character. And so I just took my character through the end of the game. I'm going to do the DLC, and then I got to take it into the new game and get the character to Pontiff, where the main PvP action is, and then I'll be able to PvP with that character, which will be fun. But that's about it. I also bought Resident Evil 3 because I'm a glutton for punishment, and that's going to be a lot of fun when that comes out. So I think Resident Evil 2 remake is on the horizon for Twitch streaming coming up. So
I'm proud of you though. You didn't buy a game that's out that you didn't play, so there is a chance you will play Resident Evil 3.
No, I so like my whole thing is like I've never played 1 to completion, but I've played 2 to completion, and I've played 3 to completion, and then like Resident Evil 4 I never really played, and then that's where like the series just didn't go off the rails. I just didn't pay attention to it. Like it did whatever it was doing, and not that turned me off of the series. I just never followed it. You know what I mean? Like I loved 2 and 3, and it might have been 4 because of the camera with 4 and the way that it was set up differently. It was more, I felt it was more actiony than 2 and 3. Like 2 and 3 was more like, definitely was more survival, because you're like you're trying to like conserve ammo, all that stuff. I don't feel like you're doing that in 4 as much. Just judging, I haven't played it, but just judging from what I've seen gameplay of the game, like I don't feel like do I want to shoot this guy, or do I want to whip out the knife and slash their knees and run away? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, yeah. So, anyways, but yeah, it's coming out the Friday before my birthday, and I have my birthday week off. So I think we're going to try and play it all week, like stream it every day. So it should be fun.
I'm really excited for that game because Resident Evil 2 remake was graphically amazing. Like the tone, I love the original, but the issue for me was the puzzles, and I didn't play 3, but I hear it's a little bit more, it was the beginning of moving toward more of an action oriented way. And like, can you tell me how many, like, is it very puzzle heavy, just like 1 and 2 were?
I don't remember 3 being
original
that puzzle heavy. The original. I don't.
I'm hoping it's not. I wanted a little bit more, and not that there can't be any of that, but it was just kind of annoying with the. It's like, oh, here's a contraption. Like, can you figure out this contraption? I'm like, this is a zombie game, bro. Why am I messing?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Why are you putting something where I need to know like the different types of pawns and chess pieces, or like I need to know the different pieces of a chess game to like get this puzzle figured out? Just let me through the damn door,
I think it's interesting how, I mean, and I've never played a Resident Evil game.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. But 2 remake made me want to actually play the series, and then I thought, should I play 1? And I've actually been quietly thinking along the same lines that Moose was talking about, just playing them all on stream. But the thing is, when 1 came out, it was
95.
Was it, yeah, I was gonna say, was it midnight? So that was like the height of adventure games.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like a zombie adventure game, and then 2 was a different type of that because you had the persistent enemy, and then 3 I think leaned more on the persistent enemy than 2, and then 4 was when they turned into a third-person shooter essentially.
Kind of, yeah, because it's over the shoulder.
Yeah.
There's just no cover. It's no cover.
Yeah,
I don't think it's not cover.
Yeah.
And then 5 was just more of that, but you had like an ammo mule come with you.
Well, you had a co-op. I thought you had a co-op partner in 5, or was 6 co-op?
No, 5 was Shiva.
Yeah, and like you could co-op with that game, and it was really fun co-oping it. But it was where we were saying like it went more towards action than it was survival horror, and it's like, well, this is a great action game, but it's not a good Resident Evil game. And then 6 just like completely went off the rails, and then they just nuked it from orbit and started over with Resident Evil 7 and did a really good job with 7.
Yeah.
So,
Where was Code Veronica? I played it on Dreamcast. But
that was in 2000.
So that's between 2 and 3.
I believe so. I'd have to look at the timeline.
4's with the plagas, right? You're in Spain.
Yeah, with the president.
Yeah,
you got to protect his daughter. Yeah, Leon.
Ashley, she sucks.
Yeah, Ashley. Yeah. But
I think 3 though opened up more, literally open. Like 1, you're confined. 2 kind of made you weren't like in hallways as bad, and 3 kind of like when you're being chased by the nemesis, there's more room to kind of maneuver, and then everything else just kind of did away with the whole confinement.
Yeah.
Like in 4, I remember playing like when you're with Ada, you're like running around like drop kicking people. It's like, this isn't right. Like drop kicking people. What?
No.
I played Resident Evil 1 on a PC with a Microsoft Sidewinder gamepad. You guys remember that?
Awesome. It's been a while since I've heard about that.
Oh, wow. So it was Resident Evil was 96, 2 was 98, 3 was 99, and then Code Veronica was in late 2000, and then 4 was all the way in 2005.
And then at some point there was Raccoon City.
They also did the Resident Evil remake in 2002, which was on the GameCube, which then they put out 4, and then obviously Resident Evil remake is what we have access to on the PlayStation and Xbox now.
Mm-hmm.
And what the hell's 0?
0 was like, I don't even know how to describe that game.
I like how I asked you guys about your weekend, and we've started to figure out Resident Evil.
Welcome to Resident Evil.
I know. Anyways.
We discuss Resident Evil, all the games, and how much we love them.
Anyways.
We can go into the movies and just...
No.
Yeah, let's talk about Resident Evil movies.
Please, let's not.
3D one, it was garbage.
Aren't they working on a new one? It's a
probably
reboot.
Don't I forget Mila, whatever I think her name is.
Jokovic.
Monster Hunter game.
Yeah,
she's in the Monster Hunter movie.
Monster Hunter movie. Yeah, it's gonna be dope.
It's called
Monster
Hunter
movie.
It's called Monster Hunter Biohazard. So it's gonna be.
No, I kid you not. In the movie, she time travels.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's gonna be great.
Hashtag logic. Okay, so now let's talk about games we were actually playing, shall we?
Yeah.
Antonio, you're the guest. Let's start with you. What you been playing, sir?
I'm currently
Besides Baby
reviewing it.
Prep Simulator.
Yeah, I'm reviewing a game under embargo right now, but I can tell you that it is a 3-person team coming out with a game. Next week is the release, and it's coming to Switch and PC, and it's really good. I'm pretty sure I'm not breaking embargo by saying
Well, you haven't said I mean, how many 3-person? I mean, like Kentucky Route Zero came out this past week, and that's a 3-person team. So you're good.
So it's not that.
No,
but
it's not
another.
that because it's out.
So that's taking up most of my time. But I just want to give a shout out to the state of gaming right now, because in being a soon-to-be parent and having limited time, limited resources, I have been taking advantage of streaming Project xCloud. I have like a little Android tablet. I'm actually getting a new one because it's not running as efficiently as I'd like with the controller. But the way that Xbox is going, that's where I'm spending a lot of my time with xCloud and Game Pass, and just being able to have a lot of access to games for very little money. And that's really helping me out. Disco Elysium is the game that keeps pulling me back on PC.
Can't wait for that to come out on consoles. I'm so excited for that game.
You're gonna rock out to that. The music is so unique. The approach and the characters are just nothing like you've seen before. It breaks all archetypes in so many ways. Again, from character, story, just style, and gameplay. So it's really great. So that's primarily where I'm spending most of my time, and couldn't be happier. All I need is more time. Okay, so any time machine, that's what I need. Need more time.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching you play Ashen vicariously because I.
Oh yeah, you've been
game.
watching that. Thank you.
It's such a good game, and I didn't have a co-op partner, and I know that would have elevated it to the next level, because just relying on your AI, I can totally see why that game would click. It being, I know I'm not comfortable calling it a Souls-like. I guess it has some elements like that, but it's a beautiful game, and I love the combat, and I love the art style and the world that they built there. So really great. I wish I would have got further into it. It was kicking me all over the place.
Yeah, it I started when I first started playing that. I just used the AI character, and then I was lucky enough to hear Moose say, "Hey, I'm going to play that with you," and I'm like, "All right." So started over, and now we're doing the hard mode. But so you can't talk about what you're playing other than Disco Elysium. Now, how far into Disco Elysium did you get?
Not far. So I had to restart because I did an intelligent character, super uber intelligent, and I switched to empathy.
Okay.
Because the game revolves around your stats. So literally the whole experience changes based on the intellect that you've built, like all the facets of your personality. So I put all my points into making my character intelligent. Therefore, the game spoke to me as if I was a savant, and it to an extreme level, which is what I, made. But I think that if you change the stats, the game speaks to you and challenges you in different ways, and explores like different aspects of the characters. So you're coming at things not just from that intellectual perspective. Now you're like, oh, well, I actually care about people's motivations. It gets that deep. So that is a replayable game that, again, the way that we talk in games about storytelling and branching paths and making choices matter, no game that I've ever experienced has brought it to that level. The only one that I see that game writing and choice matters and affects things is kind of the freedom you have in Divinity Original Sin 2. Okay. But Disco Elysium brings it to the next level. It's crazy.
Yeah, I feel a lot of games that boast that freedom, you still have the same end. Like, it's just, you can choose which, like Outer Worlds, for instance. You could make a dumb character. You get extra options, but you still have the same. You end up at the same spot either way. It doesn't matter how you choose. You could play a different way, but you're kind of still there.
Have you heard the story of the first 2 minutes of Disco Elysium yet?
I've played the first 15 minutes.
Okay.
And Phillips told us about the first couple of minutes.
Okay, good. Yeah. So long story short, there's just a lot of game there that's waiting to be discovered for people. And I highly recommend it. I think that when it comes to console, it's going to blow people away. And that's going to be like the bar set, similar to how like you see games elevating, atmosphere or an art style. Writing is Disco Elysium is the new standard for breaking barriers in writing.
Okay. Moose, Marshall, which one of you wants to go next?
Moose can.
What I've been playing, a lot of Borderlands 3.
Okay.
I did start. I know like the mayhem mode in the game, which you can change. You got like level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Kind of negates going into ultimate Vault Hunter mode, but I decided to go into Ultimate Vault Hunter mode to kind of play through the story again. And I was playing with my buddy Marco because he has Borderlands 3, and it was just like I need to get Guardian points, because like they got rid of Badass rank from 2 and kind of morphed it into Guardian rank, and so I'm moving through that, trying to get my Guardian points to unlock the perks with that. And I was like, well, instead of just grinding against the same boss over and over and over again, I'm just going to do Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. And so that's what I'm doing now. And it's a lot of fun. I'm having fun with the guns that I have. The spec, I'm running Flak, a critical spec, so he's a lot of fun to play as. And just like, and Marco's playing Siren, so he phase locks the targets, and then I just melt them with my critical hits. And so it's a good time. Like, they pretty much stuff just dies. Like, and so we started out on like regular, and then I believe when the game first came out in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, you had to like, I think you had to beat it before you could up the mayhem levels. But then they patched it in where if you start a new Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, like you can up the mayhem level.
So it was broken on console.
It was broken on console.
You had to unlock it the same way you did in normal PC. As soon as you hit Sanctuary, you're able to. So they fixed that now.
Okay, now it works like normal.
Because, like you said, what's the point? Because if you're playing on Mayhem mode, being Ultimate Vault Hunter doesn't do anything.
Yeah. So we bumped it up to Mayhem 2, and been running around killing stuff. So I've been doing that. Ashen with Matt. So we finished last week. I think we got close to beating the boss.
Yeah, we were both frustrated. Then after our last episode, you went on and you beat the boss. So I'm like, oh, great.
Right. I couldn't wait because I was like, I can't let this thing best me. And then, so I beat her, I think, the next day.
No, you beat it right after the show because you texted me on my way to work.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And the funny thing is, like, Antonio was talking about co-op partners. Like, so the game works in a way that you just run around and then an NPC AI character will show up. And sometimes that can be a real person. You can set passwords, and like Matt, that's how Matt and I connect. Like all of a sudden I'll be running around and then boom, that the character pops up and I know, hey, there's Matt. Let's go run and do something. Obviously we're talking in a party chat, but anyways, well, what happens is the game works in a way where like, if you can die and sit there, and as long as the AI reses you, you have another chance before you completely get killed, lose your souls drop, and you have to, or scoria, and you have to go back and collect it. Well, I killed the boss. Well, actually, my NPC AI character killed the boss while I was downed. And I was like, you know what? This fucking RNG bitch. That's the way it's gonna happen. Like I'm not re-downloading my save.
Ugly win is still a win, dude.
Right. I'm not trudging through that stupid cave they make us go through.
Right.
Get back to her to fight her again. So I was like, that's it. That's the trophy. And then so we started, we beat, and then Matt went on to beat it later.
Oh yeah, I had a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
Last week, I was so close to just putting that game down, saying, you know what, I don't need to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And like, I've never walked away from a Dark Souls boss. I've never walked away from a Bloodborne boss. They've not went with this. Cisno was about to beat me, and then Friday before work, I put my axe through her face and beat the game. And I'm like, all right. And then I immediately after I started the Children of Cisno mode, I'm like, you know what? I died like twice right off the bat. I'm like, okay, I can't do this right now.
Yeah.
But
So
I'll
like
be back.
So did you say you were near the end of the whole game in Ashen?
Moose and I
Yeah.
have technically beaten the game.
Technically, so you're on end game stuff?
Yeah, so what happens at the end of the game is there
Whoa. Spoilers.
spoilers, everybody.
It's a 2-year-old game, Antonio.
You unlock a difficulty mode called Children of Cisno, where all your stamina and your health is halved, and then all your upgrades
Hardcore.
are halved. And so it's like to the extreme. And I was thinking about this today, Matt, like, you know how we were talking about like increasing the potency of our of the gourd.
Yeah,
There's
what's
no
the point?
reason- as soon as I upgraded, I'm like, what am I doing? My health bar is never going to grow more than like maybe half an inch than where it is right now.
As I was laying down to bed, I'm like, you know what? We probably did a stupid thing, increasing the potency of that thing.
Because like when you level in the game, it's like, okay, like you want to increase the potency, so like one charge heals like
More.
all of you instead of like half of your health. And so that's smart, but your health gauge does not grow as much as it does in Children of Cisno. So it's like pointless. Like I feel we could use the healing item, the Sapot or whatever.
Yeah,
what is it?
Sapote or whatever.
The Sapote. Like we could use that for the entirety of the game, and it only heals you for a certain amount. So and like it becomes useless towards the end of the game, except when you're fighting the final boss and you're like, I have no crimson gourds. I have to use that, I have to use, there's one that heals you over time. You're like using everything you have to like try and like freaking kill her. But anyway, so we started our playthrough of that, and it's rough.
Yeah.
Like, it is real rough. Like you can like do one swing and then you have to like dodge out and
you have to back the hell.
Yeah, like you can't. There's no like just running in and swinging like crazy, and there's no like. For the first, I died like so many times, but it was just because like you're swinging, you do 2 swings, and then you're trying to dodge out, and the game has a noise. Like it sounds like metal clinking to tell you that you have no stamina.
It's like pulling. It's like if you have a padlock on a chain, it's like pulling that chain tight. It's just like ching.
Yeah, and you're just sitting there, and it's like ching, ching, ching. Every time you hit the button to dodge, and you have no stamina, it's like making that noise, and you're just like, this is gonna be really painful, really painful. But anyways, it's gotten more fun as we've like upgraded, move on. The thing is, even though it's tough, we have progress.
Yeah.
So I will have to say, we beat the second boss today on our first try. The first time we did it together, it took like 2 tries, maybe 3.
Yeah,
I think.
It took us twice. It took me like, because I beat it solo the first time, and it took me like 15 tries.
Yeah.
But this time we walked in, we were just like, okay, one of us try and pull the boss, one of us try and pull the ads. Like we should have streamed today because we look like a well-oiled machine.
That wasn't a well-oiled machine because I feel like Children of Cisno mode like really, like we were talking about when we first started it, I feel like it's the mode that teaches you to really use the combat. Like if you just play the regular difficulty, you can brute force your way through a lot of things. But Children of Cisno's like, I've got to block, I've got to dodge. Not only that, but you have to use your shield charge to like break. So the enemies in the game that have shields, the way you break their shield is with a shield charge so that you can hit them. And then, so it's like you're using like all these mechanics that you weren't before. You're using there's an apple cricket that increases your, it's like the green blossoms from Dark Souls that increase your stamina regen. So you're going to be like using those like crazy. Like you're just going to be using like everything possible you have at your disposal to like try and progress in the game. And so we've made it pretty far. It has been hard, but I feel it's gotten a little bit easier for us because we've like learned the difficulty. I'm sure someone's going to come along and whoop our ass. I think the third boss is going to be rough, but I think it's
The
definitely
way your mother
getting
likes
better.
it.
Just the way your mother likes it, Trebek. But yeah, so it's been Borderlands 3 and Ashen, and that's about it. I went through my wish list on my Switch during the Super Bowl. So I was just sitting there like, I should probably get rid of some of this stuff, because even though I want it, I'm not going to double dip, because I have it on PS4 and I really should play it there. And then there was some other stuff where I'm just like, this is a real-time strategy game. I never play real-time strategy games, like, ever. And I'm like, I'm just taking it off the list. But
Step outside that comfort zone, Moose.
Yeah.
I already have, what is it, Into the Breach? So I'm going to play that. And
Into the Breach.
So
I
good.
love it.
Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah. I
Yeah.
just booted it again. You guys are making me want to play Ashen. You guys are making me want to play Borderlands. You guys are making me want to play Into the Breach. It's infectious, I tell you.
It is.
I got a fever.
Jason's
Hold
over
my
there.
Jason, speaking of Borderlands style humor,
I played
and outlandish weapons. Let's talk about Journey to the Savage Planet.
I played and reviewed Journey to Savage Planet. Ask me anything.
I watched you start playing this game, and I was immediate like, I need to play this.
When you start the game and you're holding a gun and what looks like an oversized booger in your other hand,
yeah,
things are gonna get weird.
Oh,
things
man.
got weird. Basic premise, because my review is not out, it's just being proofread. But you crash landed on this planet, and you have to work with your psychotic robot companion, who puts GLaDOS to shame.
Yeah,
You lie.
There is
Oh,
GLaDOS
she's-
energy in this game.
Like,
GLaDOS
if
is
you
one
look
of
up
the
Snark,
best characters in gaming.
if
You're
you
telling
look
me?
up Snark in the dictionary, Echo's picture appears.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's got some. And then it turns out there's something on this planet, and the corporation you work for are like, hey, buddy, do us a favor and look into this.
Yeah. Well, I think the premise is like you're going to an uninhabited planet, and then
Yes.
the robot is like, "Oh, didn't expect intelligent life here, but clearly there is. So figure it out."
It's it's first person. It's not really a shooter. There's shooting, but it's not a constant thing. It's kind of like a small scale No Man's Sky, but if you injected a little Ratchet and Clank into it.
Yeah.
As you can see from the picture behind me, it's very vibrant. Like, it's trippy.
It is a colorful game.
It's trippy. In fact, so much so there are plants that cause hallucinations, and all of a sudden the screen will start to do Wayne's World.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
You only get a pistol, but it's your offhand weapons. Basically, you pick up plant life wherever it is, and like one thing you throw, and it creates a mini trampoline. Another thing is sticky glue. You could stick 5 enemies together and then blow them up.
Or you could pick up a purple pile of poo. And like, this game.
It's just like I said, smaller scale No Man's Sky. But if you want a space exploration game that's not as
spacey.
No, but I was gonna say, like, No Man's Sky is so massive, like it's daunting almost. This is small scale. Like, I beat the game in 11 hours, and I was about 65% to the platinum. And I explored a bit. I mean, there's actually a trophy to beat it under 4 hours, so it can be done.
Whoa, wow, that's interesting.
The trophy description actually says somebody better call GDQ.
That's awesome.
I do want to finish and get the platinum, but you'd miss a ton of dialogue. Like, I died like 3 times in a row, and Echo went, "You did your best. It wasn't the best, but it was your best."
Yeah.
they explain like respawning. Basically, she's like, "Oh, I took a sample of your DNA. I could bioprint you now."
Well, I think there was when I was watching your stream, it said, "Oh, so we're gonna kill you and we're gonna respawn you at this other place." Oh wait, I mean teleport.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is good. This is good.
It's a really enjoyable game. Like, I think with their next game, Typhoon Studios can definitely go larger scale. I mean, 12 hours. I mean, I'm almost 12 hours, and I probably have 5 to 6 left to finish the platinum, plus the speed run.
Right.
It's a good length, but I mean, it's just a fun game. Like, there's a lot of verticality, so it's not just corridors. Like, you can explore. Like, you get a jetpack.
It seemed like there was Metroidvania.
There is. So
to it. Like,
yeah, a lot of the abilities
unlock
you
abilities to get to new places.
Basically, like you'll see a crack in the wall that's like, that's ripe for an explosion. And then you come upon a plant that explodes. So you're like, all right. And then you unlock the ability like, oh, you can now pick up these bomb plants. Like, all right, I'm going to know where I'm going now.
Yep. I think doesn't your robot buddy say something about that?
She probably,
I mean, she says a lot about everything that's
around. She said, there's one, she's like, just stick your hand in there. Nothing will happen. Maybe something. You might die. No, just do it anyway. We'll be fine.
Yeah. As I was watching your stream, I was thinking of like GLaDOS and like Stanley Parable and things like that. Granted, not to the extent of either of those, but like, I don't feel like this computer AI is written to the quality of GLaDOS, but I don't think it's going for that either. It's just trying to go for that snark. And
she's not trying to kill you. She is helpful, but she's kind of her amusement.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like there's items around the map to basically consume that increase every like third one increases your health and stamina. The first time you take it, she goes, eat that. Your biology has changed. On the good side, you can eat more. Bad news, your whole body's full of tumors now.
Yeah.
But it's just the delivery is just like she nails it. And it's got that Borderlands type, but it's not like full on like fart humor.
Yeah,
like
it's not internet humor a la 2012.
Yeah.
So
it's just it's a really enjoyable game, and it's only $30,
which is not bad.
Which is
you said 15, 20 hours.
If you 100%, I'd say 15 to 20.
That's not bad for like $20. That's a good, or $30. That's a good experience.
I'm a big fan of these games that are $20, $30 that offer about 15 hours gameplay, because I just don't have the time to spend, the 100 hours, the $60, 100 hours. So I have a theory that in the next coming years that's going to be an emerging genre, and you're going to be able to pour all of your time and resources into a real polished, 10, 15 hour experience. And I think it's going to be real popular.
Well, I think it started like, it's nice to see games like that out of like, I mean, Remnant from the Ashes was that. Ashen is very much that, where you're paying like, you're not paying full $60 price, but you're getting a full experience.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
I think like Outer Worlds was also was an example of that. I didn't play Outer Worlds. I still have to, but it seems like Obsidian decided to tighten their experience and focus it rather than make it some wide open-ended, Fallout style, but still channeling that. And I think that, like Antonio said, I think it's definitely a business model idea going forward.
And I did play Outer Worlds. I'm a huge fan of the dev, and I love the Fallout New Vegas, and I have another playthrough of that game, but in effect right now. And I do think that like that game visually is like on par with other AAA titles, and the gunplay was a big step up and very much more punchy, which I like to see there. The writing, of course, which they're known for, was great. It all didn't gel for me coming together, but yeah, you're right. It is a perfect example of what we're talking about, where it's, you could call it double A or whatever you want to call it, but I think that as Game Pass is going to be and subscription services are going to be cannibalizing people's time and money, I think that there's going to be a space there for maybe some things that are outside the subscription services, like Journey to the Savage Planet, that's going to be available for a price, and just trying to like pave the way to try to keep that model open, where it's like, okay, we're not going to do the subscription, but we'd like you to try this, and then you love the devs eventually, and then you throw money at them the next time something comes along. So good on them.
Yeah,
for coming up with something like this.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that, I mean, I'll say it. It sucks that Google bought, is it Typhoon Studios?
Typhoon. I don't know. I
Yeah.
said Typhoon. Typhoon.
Oh, it's because you're thinking about Typhon de Leon from Borderlands. It's fine. But I think it sucks that Google bought them, because Stadia's going through some issues at this point.
What? No, they're fine.
I mean, Google as a company is fine, but like they've gone, what, 40, 50 days without an update? And
Have they?
Yeah, something like that. Well, like, and then like, I guess their subreddit, like the last time anybody heard from Google proper, it's like, yep, we're listening. And that's really it. So
Sucks.
I think that I mean, I'll just say this. I'm glad I canceled my pre-order on that.
I was on the fence for the longest time. They could have had me.
Yeah, like
xCloud wasn't out yet, and I was like, you know what? The time was right. I'm like, you know what? Let me try it out, and they totally dropped the ball. What a missed opportunity.
They should have did like a beta for.
They should have framed this as a beta.
They should have said, "Here is our beta for a year, possibly a year to 18 or 12 to 18 months, and then release it after that to get some feedback from the users, to get some." Like test things. Like some people, like the way they just rolled it out, it's like, are you Google or are you freaking like mom and pop store from down the street, like trying to produce something for like the entire city of like 2 million people or something?
This is the playbook that Google Plus ended up with. This is this is it's standard Google practice, but I think they are operating in a way that has more, well, I don't want to say more eyes on them, but it definitely has a more reactive set of eyes on them that won't necessarily let them just do what they do.
Right.
Are you aware if the Google controller needed to be proprietary to play Google Stadia?
There was something, I think, if you were in the founders group, I think you got the controller and you could use, that was how you could use a Chromecast. I think eventually it's supposed to be any controller, but I think right now only the Google controller.
I think it was odd that they had the hubris to believe that they could jump into the gaming market that's highly competitive with players that have been at this for decades, Microsoft with their emerging technologies, and them coming head to head with, xCloud, and, where that was going to be their probably most direct competition. And then they tried to sell you the upgraded Chromecast, and charge you to be part of the founders, as if you were sure that you were going to be worth that money. Like they had a leg up. It was like, guess what? You don't need anything. You all have Google browsers. I tested Assassin's Creed Odyssey in the pilot program before it was called Stadia.
Yeah, Jason did too.
I did too. I got a free copy. I played enough.
Me as well. And it worked. And, there was some buffering and things, but I was like, this works. I can't believe it. And they were, hinting at you being able to use it on, other mobile devices. And I'm like, this is the future. And they had that leg up, and all they had to do was, one, be ready, but the other thing they had to do is just be like, all you need is the browser. That was the biggest selling point. The whole Chromecast controller thing is nuts. I just told my brother today, who is a PlayStation guy, I was like, you're going to be able to play Project xCloud, on a mobile device. And he's like, what, really? And I've told him this many times, but because he just got Game Pass for PC, he's like, wow, this is great. And it's a taste and see thing. If they had only given a demo to give people a taste and say it's free for everyone for the next 30 days, it would have got a lot of people hooked.
Mhm.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Well, they didn't do a good job with the performance and the rollout. So,
Pardon me.
Give me one more. Give me one more.
No, three's all you get. So I've been playing a game that I've been looking forward to for damn near 7 years. Kentucky Route Zero finally came out. And now my history with this game is I was made aware of it when Polygon was doing their podcast, The Besties at the time, which I think is still kind of affiliated with them. But they were doing their Game of the Year tournament, which Last of Us ended up winning, but their runner-up was Kentucky Route Zero. And I'm like, what the hell is this game? I didn't know anything about it. So I started looking at it. I'm like, okay, I don't get this. And then I eventually watched someone play through the first 2 acts without commentary. And I was like, all right, I'm starting to vibe with this. And then when the 3rd act came out, I watched, I think, the same person play through that. I'm like, okay, I am in on this game. Now, my memory of the release of this game is the 1st act came out January 7th, 2013. The 2nd act, as well as the first interlude, came out in 2013 as well. And then 2014 was the 2nd interlude and the 3rd act. I don't remember when the 3rd interlude came out, but the 4th act came out in 2016. And then I think somewhere between 3 and 4, Cardboard Computer, the developer, came up with a hotline that you could call and find out the status of the development. So once Act 4 came out, I actually started calling the hotline. So I've been calling this hotline for about 5-ish years.
That's hilarious.
was it like, did you call them like every other month? Were you calling?
Yeah,
them
once,
twice
just
a year?
I was calling them a lot at first, and then I would forget about it and be like, oh yeah, Kentucky Route Zero's not out yet. Let's call. And then eventually in 2018, that was the first time that the status of the hotline had changed to a point where like people started talking about it. They're like, I think I heard about it on Waypoint, and like it was probably Austin Walker who said, hey, yo, did you hear the Kentucky Route Zero hotline changed again? And I'm like, wait a minute. 858 KR or when KRZ or KRZ when, and listen to it, and like status of Kentucky Route Zero development, quality assurance testing. And I'm like, it's so frustrating, but I can't wait. And then like as people started talking about Game of the Decade late last year, I'm like, you know what? It would be great if Kentucky Route Zero came out just before 2020 started, and it could be like fully qualified for Game of the Decade, but it ended up on a bunch of Game of the Decade lists anyway. But
Polygon had it at 4.
Huh?
Polygon had it at the 4th as the 4th best.
And then at somewhere at the beginning of this year, like since I started getting reacclimated with Twitter and becoming more active there, like I started following a lot of, like I basically started a keyword for whenever Kentucky Route Zero. So I would get alerts about Kentucky Route Zero. It was basically like a lot of, I actually found a podcast through it called the NES Pod, where I haven't listened to a ton of episodes, but it's two guys that basically come up with hypothetical video game things, and they're like, oh, action adventure but Kentucky Route Zero. And I'm like, all right, I'll listen to this podcast. It's a really good show, you should listen to it. but at the beginning of the year, I saw a writer I started following named Carolyn Pettit, and she said the Kentucky Route Zero hotline changed, so I called it, and it said pending release. And I'm like, what? And then Annapurna tweeted, hey, we got some news next week. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this is happening. And then they announced it. It came out last week. And then the last thing I'm going to say about the release section of this before I actually talk about playing it was I Am 8-Bit decided to, they tweeted an image that said Department of the Real and a phone number. So I'm like, I looked at it, I'm like, I know that number. And I called the Kentucky Route Zero hotline. And guess what? I'm like, I think the day before it released, I tweeted, I'm like, I would like to hear like a limited run, like vinyl soundtrack, physical release. And literally the day of, I Am 8-Bit tweeted about all of that. And I actually saved all those images because this is such a Kentucky Route Zero thing to do. And it's like a perfect coda to the story. But now I'm going to talk about actually playing Kentucky Route Zero.
I have a quick question. When you called that hotline originally,
Mm-hmm.
did somebody answer the phone? Is like, we're working on it. Hang up. We're working on it.
It was an
like,
automated.
No wonder it took so long.
It was an automated message. It was.
I thought it was
that'd be great though.
The dev team's like, I'm literally clicking stuff right now. I gotta go.
Like, yo,
like,
I'm fixing bugs. Leave me alone. Anyway. So Kentucky Route Zero is a game that sort of like me talking about how much I like this game brings up a bit of hypocrisy in that, mainly because and this dates back to Platinum Achievements, Antonio. The one thing I have always talked about loving in games is the actual play, like moving around, the actions, whatever. And I've always said that video game stories are essentially a step up from not very good. Some, depending on my mood, I will be more hyperbolic, but that's been sort of my mantra. Well, Kentucky Route Zero is aspirationally a point-and-click adventure, but you spend a ton of time reading. Like I mean, honestly, like this game is probably, the long-standing joke of what's the Citizen Kane of video games. Like, I feel like you could say this is the 60s, 70s European art film of video games, where all you're doing is reading and drawing on context. But the beauty of Kentucky Route Zero, and this actually ties into what Antonio mentioned earlier about story choices. And what Jason sort of dovetailed on that, like how you always start and end at the same place. Well, in Kentucky Route Zero, you start and end at the same place, but the story options are not like the good option, the bad option. It is, you are, instead of choosing actual dialogue, you are choosing story tone and moments.
Sweet.
And that's the brilliance of it, because you can almost change the story based on your own state of mind while playing it.
Wow.
This isn't actually in the game, but like an example, a character sees the phone ringing and they're about to pick it up, but the options you choose are what they say on the phone. So like an option could be like, really, you're calling me about bills right now? Or, oh, this isn't very important, I'll be back to that later. And they're kind of disparate, but it changes like what's actually said in a way that the tone of the moment changes, rather than Shepard choosing to be Paragon or Renegade.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the options are, they just create like this weird depth and breadth of storytelling that I don't think could be possible any other way. I'm sure if Cardboard Computer were, I'll say this, if they were like bought by somebody and given a ton of money, they could probably make a Disco Elysium or a Divinity Original Sin. But I don't feel like they could do Kentucky Route Zero any other way. And having played, I mean, I haven't finished it yet. I was hoping to be finished by this episode, but I've only finished up to the interlude between Act 3 and Act 4. This is easily one of my favorite video game stories of all time. And I stopped watching videos about it after Act 3 came out.
Can you tell me why is it split up into acts? Is it just they want to do something and they don't have the capacity to release it all at once? Or is it more they didn't know where it was going to go, they didn't know it was going to expand, and the story just kind of kept going? Like, is that a story thing? Or
now, from what I know, and this is, there are actually Waypoint, Patrick Klepek at Waypoint actually did an interview with the developers about it. One thing I did not know about this game until recently is that it was a Kickstarter game in 2011. So this is pre Double Fine Adventure. This is pre Star Citizen, where like they only raised like $8,000, and it was I think they pitched it as a 5-act game. And I think the developers said they knew the story they wanted to tell. And they knew how they wanted to tell it, but I think they wanted to write it and get the visuals right. And the visuals are striking in this game. Like the easy way to describe it is minimalist, but it's there's something off about that. Like it's definitely indie game visuals, but the game is just goddamn beautiful. I think they always pitched it as a 5-act game, and I think the interludes came about with the extended time between. Like I think they always had interludes as a thing, but they wanted to do bigger interludes as a sort of holdover till actual acts came out, especially between 3 and 4 and 4 and 5, because 4 came out in 2016 and 5 just came out last week.
And it is text heavy, right? So it's all dialogue on screen.
It's all dialogue on
backgrounds.
Yeah, I mean the backgrounds and everything are beautiful, and the text when you're reading it, it's not as intrusive as you might think because it's not really obscuring action. And I think that's the wise aesthetic choice, but it doesn't leave you it's not like watching a foreign film where you feel like you're spending too much time reading the text and not catching the visuals. Because as someone who loves foreign cinema, I still find myself thinking about that even now. But it is a game that is it's just so good. It's such a beautifully written story. This might actually be one of the better video game stories ever.
What act is it on now, or is it?
It's all complete. So the release of Act 5, and I think this is why Act 5 took so long. But they ported it everywhere. They ported it to Switch. They ported it to PlayStation, Xbox, and I think the console editions are called the TV editions, and I think the complete, on PC is called PC edition. But Act 5 came out simultaneously everywhere, and all of the complete packages were released everywhere same day as Act 5. So it's complete. And now there is some. I don't want to say heavy-handed politics in the game. I don't think it's like a lot of us are in Facebook groups where when things get a bit left-wing, people start crying SJW or keep your politics out of my game or whatever, and forget those people, because if games are art art is inherently political, and if just because you don't like politics, that doesn't mean politics won't have an interest in you. But there is a big commentary on the after effects of capitalism in this game. I mean, you could read it as anti-capitalist, but I think there's a little too much hope in it for that. And, there's something to be said about, just going on a metaphysical highway through a bunch of locations, real or possibly real, and experiencing Conway's voyage to his final delivery. And it's a beautifully written game, and I think if you are willing to give it the time, at least as far as I have, it'll be worth it. But I will say this: if you get through Act 1 and you are not interested, it probably won't change.
It's like, move on.
Yeah, because I'm the last person to say brute force your way through a game. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've said that in the past, incorrectly in the past, because I don't think anybody should force themselves to get through something they don't like anymore. Lord knows I try not to do that, but I have. But yeah, I'm almost afraid to talk about actual events in the game, just because.
Just tell me the end.
I haven't got to the end yet, so I can't. I mean, based on what everybody has said about the end, the payoff, they land it. So my guess is Conway finds 5 Dogwood Drive, makes his delivery, and that's the end of the game. Because that's how it starts. That's exactly how it starts. He's like, I'm looking for 5 Dogwood Drive, and they said, oh, you have to take the 0, which is the highway that the game is based around, but it's like a highway that isn't really connected by time and space. At the end of the first act, you go through a cave and you're on the 0, and then through each of the other acts, you have to do another series of tasks to get back on the 0. And going on the 0 is actually all right, because despite it being, images on a 2D plane, you're still kind of disoriented in a way that is really cool and beautifully executed. And I will say this, Ben Babbitt's music is easily one of the best soundtracks, at least in the last, I will say, since Persona 4's soundtrack. Since that one was released, and that's probably my favorite soundtrack of all time, and Ben Babbitt's soundtrack is up there as one of the best since that, and that was 2008. So
yeah, I have an important question about the game. How much time would you say you have to dedicate for a playthrough? Because for something like this, it just seems like it spans so much development time. It's chopped up into the acts. It's obviously you're saying it's amazing by all accounts. So how much time is it? Like a 10, 20?
I would say it's probably about I think Alex Navarro of Giant Bomb said it's about the same length as Walking Dead Season 1, which is about 10 hours.
The whole game?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And it's that impactful over that.
Yeah.
10 hours.
Wow. I stayed up all night last night to sort of rebalance my sleep schedule for the week, as I do. And I think I spent probably 9 hours, and I'm only through Act 4, but I spent a lot of time just meandering through environments. I probably didn't, looking back, nothing came of some of those meanderings, so I probably didn't need to do that. So I'm pretty sure you could brute force your way through the story and get through it in 10 hours.
Wow.
But I've been playing it on Switch, and yeah, I think when I first watched Act 3, like back when it came out, like that impact was not lost on me today playing it. Like it was still like a whoa, this just happened. I mean, and yeah, it's I feel like I've spent a lot of time talking about nothing, like I'm a goddamn Seinfeld episode. But
Yada
Kentucky,
yada yada.
yeah, Kentucky Route Zero is it's everything I've wanted it to be and more. And despite having watched it played before, like I'm pretty sure I like the fact that my playthrough now is mine.
All right, important question. If you had to pick, one is wiped from your memory and you never can play it forever.
Mhm.
Kentucky Route Zero or Dark Souls?
Ooh, shit.
Wow, I didn't know. I thought he was going to answer right away. Whoops.
That's tough.
Sorry. Didn't mean to send you into
Well, you're
to spiral out of control.
That's a tough. Oh man.
Wow.
Why are you bringing the tough questions, Antonio?
Well, hold on. I can make this
Hold on a
even
minute.
tougher.
Okay.
What Souls game was first for you? That was it Dark Souls 1 or Demon Souls?
Demon Souls.
So put Demon Souls in there, because had you not played Demon Souls,
Okay, so now we're talking about one of my 10 favorite games of all time. I'll say it right here and now, and I know I've not finished it, and I've not had we'll call it a critical distance of time. I would wipe Demon Souls.
Whoa, you heard it here first. You're drunk.
No, actually,
He's got to go to work.
First,
so
this is my first coffee, and I have water, no alcohol. And I think that, I mean, it's I would say that the argument it's weird that you pick those two, because like Dark Soul, the Soul series is some of my favorite gameplay of all time, whereas Kentucky Route Zero is like some of the better storytelling that I've ever encountered in a game. I just want to thank you for not picking Outer Wilds, because Outer Wilds I would have definitely scrapped Kentucky Route Zero for. But they're I mean, it's you picked polar opposites in a really good way, because gameplay and story. But yeah, Kentucky Route Zero is phenomenal. If you can find a way to play the first chunk of it to figure out if it vibes with you, do that. And if it doesn't, move on. If it does, keep going.
Cool.
I recognize that this game is not going to be for everybody, despite how much praise I could just heap on it. But it's just another example of Annapurna's stellar and sterling publishing reputation. They brought us this, What Remains of Edith Finch, Gorogoa, Sayonara Wild Hearts, Ashen. Annapurna's awesome.
What's that new one coming about music? It's going to be amazing. The Artful Escape.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be amazing.
that game looks bonkers as well.
Annapurna's
really good, and if I could, yeah, I would shill for Annapurna. I totally would. They published Wadham last year too. Annapurna's really good. Buy their games. So I think everybody's talked about what they're playing. Yes?
Yep.
Okay. So now we can just freestyle it for a little bit. So Wonderful 101 is finally coming to Switch.
And PS4.
Oh, is
and
it coming
PC.
to PS4 and PC?
So they launched the Kickstarter today, and they needed 50,000 to get it on Switch, and they needed 500,000 or 400,000. They wanted to hit 500,000, which was the goal to get on PS4, and they're sitting at 800,000 right now.
Sweet.
And they have 31 days to go.
and they still have 31. They're at 827,000 because the number just keeps moving.
Yeah.
Like it's not stopping.
I mean, I think that might be the last game that I wanted from Wii U to come to Switch.
I mean, since I posted that link in our Facebook chat, it's got 1,500 backers since then, which was like maybe 20 minutes ago, not even half hour ago. So I think this is definitely, they smashed their goal. Yeah, it was 500K for PS4. 1 million is a time attack, speedrunner's dream mode, and 1.5 is Luca's first mission, a brand new 2D side-scrolling adventure starring young hero. So they there's been talks on, I saw the link on Destructoid, but Destructoid's thinking it's got like an April 2020 release. So they're thinking that the port is almost done, and this is just a way to help them fund. Like they think the remaster is done, but this is a way to help them fund the ports to get it elsewhere. And so, I mean, which has already happened. So, but anyways.
Which, good for them.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because people thought it was a joke at first.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, why would Platinum Games have a Kickstarter?
Well, I was just hearing a conversation about them being, indie developers, but I've seen so many Platinum Games and they've been backed by such, high profile publishers that I didn't realize that. Platinum's just known for, I wouldn't even call it AA titles, honestly.
No.
But technically that's what I was told, and I was like, oh, okay. Because I was like, why are you kickstarting a game? I thought it was, I forget what other Kickstarter happened, and it was like, why are you guys kickstarting? Because you have your own money. I forgot which one that was, but very interesting. The
CEO came out and basically, I guess he expected that to happen, and he said, we want to self-publish. We still can't. We've had wonderful help in the past, but we've had to rely on the help, and we feel if we could do this on our own.
Which they've done.
I mean,
their goal was 50K. And they're at 826.
That's
so
like, that's. I feel like if you are, I feel like this is very similar to when Koji Igarashi kickstarted Bloodstained, where he said, "Hey, look, we already have a publisher, but we need to know demand for this is there. If you want to back this, we will supplement your backing with stuff." To the tune of these stretch goals, and they just blew out of the water everything. I mean, they got 2 games out of that Kickstarter.
People did. They got the 8-bit Curse of the Moon.
And not only that Bloodstained was just a bananas ass Metroidvania, and it's probably the standard by which Metroidvanias will be measured going forward. More so than basically he just said, "Hey, Symphony of the Night, but ridiculouser." And watching Vinny from Giant Bomb play through that game, it gets bonkers. And I feel like this is Platinum saying, "Hey, this is why why we're doing this." And while I've not watched the Kickstarter video or anything like that, based on what Jason said, if you can state your reasoning in a way that is clear, concise, and doesn't sound like you're trying to shiest people out of some money, you're all the better for it. And as Antonio said, Platinum has put forth some phenomenal games. Nier Automata is like one of the best games of the last decade. Let's see, what else did they do? They did Vanquish. If you remember that jam. Bayonetta 1, 2, and
which they're doing the
10th anniversary.
10th anniversary comes out this week, next week, maybe.
It's all upgraded, right?
Yeah,
and it up-resed and all that.
Which
Vanquish is a good damn game.
I played Vanquish a little bit on PlayStation, but I predominantly played it back when I still had an Xbox. And that game is bonkers. I mean,
they did a Metal Gear game.
Yeah, they did.
Metal Gear Revengeance.
They did the best Metal Gear game.
Whoa, now.
I'll say it right now.
No.
as someone who did not like Metal Gear Solid, and I've said this before, 5 did some things to me in a way that I was like okay with, but Revengeance is my favorite game with a Metal Gear name on it.
That's a hot take.
Followed closely by the 2 NES ones. So,
I think the Kickstarter just threw people because they're doing Babylon's Fall with Square, which was just shown. And people like lost their minds over that because it looks amazing. They just
published Astral Chain on Switch.
Well, they didn't publish it. They developed
Well, yeah,
it.
they put it out. You're right.
Yeah.
Nintendo published that.
Yes.
I mean, most Kickstarters, I guess the bad press for Kickstarter is Mighty Number 9. But you'd be surprised
But see, at least Mighty Number 9 came out.
True.
True. Whereas there was that Yogscast game that was Kickstarted, funded, and then like about a year later, the people developing it said, "Yeah, we're not doing this anymore. Bye," and walked away with that money.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, there's like zero accountability.
Yeah,
walked away with that money.
Like no, they did. They totally did because
it's true.
Yeah, they walked away with that, and like even the Yogscast people were like, "But you were doing this for us." Like hopefully, someone was held accountable via a third party method, but yeah, Kickstarter, that's how it rolls.
I've backed a few games, and I've forgotten I've backed a few games because sometimes the cycle's so long.
Oh yeah. Like I've stopped predominantly backing anything on Kickstarter. The only reason I still have the app is to get the updates on whatever I have left to come. Mainly because, I'm trying to adopt a child, so I need to not back Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, as cool as it is getting into the credits, it's also like, like you forget too. Like,
oh, definitely.
That game. There's a game coming out, Hunt the Night, which me and Moose really want to play. I don't remember I kickstarted till I get like, oh hey, a new track on the soundtrack's out. It's like, oh, forgot this game.
It's like, oh yeah, that.
That's the trouble with game development when everything takes, even if you have a full team, things take 4-5 years. And then you're asking these people to just have money solve a problem when they have only a few people.
Well, I think that's the biggest issue. Like when I wanted to back Bloodstained, and I came like this close to backing it, but I'm like, I don't know anything about Kickstarter. I don't trust it. And then it was doing its cycle. It was like I think it was 2015 he announced he was doing that game.
Something like that, yeah.
And it was last year it came out. That's 4 years. But still, for a game of that caliber, 4 years is not that long. Like games are in development for a lot longer than that sometimes. And it's like the expectation of gamers, the entitlement where they're like, oh, well, I love your game, looks great. I backed it. I want it out tomorrow. It's like, you're fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like they're here because it's a thought right now. It's an idea. Here's some like, maybe here's the trailer. Like they show the trailer so that you can see what the game might look like, as a tech demo or something like that. And that's about it. There's no like levels design. There's nothing written, nothing like that. And people are just like so impatient and like now. And it's like, I'd love to see, I'd hate to say it, but I'd love to see a Kickstarter come out and be like, okay, game comes out in a year, and it's absolute trash. And it's like, well, you pushed for this. You wouldn't let them have their development cycle. Like,
have you heard of a game called Mighty Number 9?
Yes, I have. And that's the problem.
I guess the thing is you kickstart and you're in there, not day one because they've done something, but like, think about like, I don't know, Horizon Zero Dawn 2. We all know that's probably in development. But Guerrilla's under no obligation to tell us, hey, we did new artwork. Like, but like, and sure, if you kickstart a game, the dev doesn't have to update you, but they're kind of almost like held that they have to because all these people kind of like, so you kind of want to give an update. Like, of course, we want to hear updates about Spider-Man 2 or something like that, but like, they're under no obligation. We didn't kickstart it. Like, they'll show us something when they're ready.
Yeah.
I think that
Mhm.
it's a problem for the dev on a Kickstarter. It's like, I have to update them, but I don't want to give them nothing, but I don't want to get their hopes up. It's like, it's got to be hard juggling for them too. Like, we might be impatient, but they're like, I don't want to give them crap, but
Well,
I mean,
I
they already
think
paid me though.
as someone who has backed board games on Kickstarter, and I mean, even like I could talk. I mean, we could talk about. If you want to talk about dev time, hey, Kentucky Route Zero was a Kickstarter in 2011, so that was developed over 10 years. So, but like as someone who's like the backing of Bloodstained, like you remember a while back, I don't remember how long ago, but the people were doing the boycott Call of Duty, and then you see those same people in the same lobby in Call of Duty.
Didn't
Like,
work out. They all went to it.
Yeah, exactly. Because I would like to see I would wonder if there's a way to like cross-reference the people that were angry about Bloodstained not being out versus the people who backed it, and I wonder how much overlap there is. Because as someone who backed Bloodstained, I never once got angry about waiting for that game because there was a steady cadence of updates. Like even I think it was basically weekly for a long time, and then they said, okay, we're going to scale back the updates to monthly, and if it goes any more frequent than that, it'll just be like minor updates, or hey, we received a bunch of fan art, so we're showing it to you. And I feel like that was the way to do it. But I would be more than willing to bet that a lot of people going, hey, where the hell's Bloodstained? It was announced so long ago. I'll bet you the people that were up in arms about that were not backers, because I had more updates about that game than I ever had the time to read.
So I don't know if, like, on the topic really quickly about Kickstarter, you've heard of Temtem, right?
Yeah.
So we actually had an episode of Matt and our podcast years ago where we had a full episode where I just kept hammering on this point that Pokemon needed to be an MMO. And there was a Kickstarter, I believe, started in 2008 by, they didn't even form the team yet under this name, but it's created by Crema, I think it's what they're called. And they finally released early access, and they are all over their updates, and they are responding to fans' feedback as they released early access recently, and literally patches are coming out on the daily. They are tweeting and responding to messages all day long. And the amount of pressure, like you talk about, like trying to meet the demand of people, like they are on it, and people are talking about this in the threads. They're like, wow, you guys are on the ball. Like they know what's demanded of, unfortunately, what's demanded of these developers now on the indie scene and again, started with a Kickstarter, finally out, and they are hitting the pavement saying we are not going to be another, dev that's non-responsive. So they're all over it, and it must be exhausting. It must be crazy. I'm very excited for it. I've been wanting a Pokemon MMO, forever, and they've done it. So, I really want to support them. It was a little buggy or whatever, but I want to give them my money. Like I really want to do it. So that is on the top of my purchase list next. So as soon as I get some time, I want to dive into that. Kickstarter's hit or miss.
Well, yeah, it is. Which Bloodstain was Kickstarter? Was Blasphemous was Kickstarter, which is really awesome, really great game. I feel like you're talking about Pokemon and wanting an MMO. I think it's sad at how the company that makes Pokemon will never make the game that the fans deserve because they're tied too much to the merchandise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you want an MMO Pokemon. Like, back when Skyrim came out, I was like, Pokemon will look awesome. If it doesn't have to be photorealistic, but, like, really good graphics and, like, look really awesome. And it's, like, still, like, to be honest, like, Sword and Shield looks like shit. Some of the stuff just looks like, it's just, some of the videos I've seen is just bad. And it's like, they cater to that. Can we sell this in a plushie? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Can we sell this way? And sadly, the fans will never get a hardcore game like they had when they were first starting.
Well, I think
didn't have any of
I
that.
think the problem with trying to bring Pokemon to the MMO space or making it a harder core game, it alienates most of their demographic. Like, sure, in fact, you know what? That's probably an incorrect statement, because I'll bet you.
I bet you their demographic is like is 25 and over.
Well, hang on, because like if we've all like there's been a long-standing statement about Nintendo marketing their games to children, and I think Pokemon is definitely like a shining example of that. But I'll bet you most of the people playing Pokemon now are probably early 20s or mid 20s and up, because that series is 20 something years old now. But I feel like trying to update that, like they're afraid getting younger players, like that'll alienate them. Like, and hopefully Temtem is sort of like the MMO that Pokemon fans deserve. But I don't think that there hasn't been a lack of examples of how Pokemon could be matured.
Well, I think it's also
and still capture the saleability of toys. Because look at Ni no Kuni. Like, Ni no Kuni was full of wonderfully adorable creatures and a great story. And still, I mean, granted, nobody played it on PS3 when it came out. Like, it was completely outclassed and outgunned. But man, the animation in that game and the story are phenomenal. And it's definitely like it should definitely be a Pokemon player's game, I would say, personally. As someone who's never played Pokemon, full disclosure.
Full disclosure, I never got into it. I know a lot of people have, but anyways, that's my feeling. I do see a lot of good feedback on Temtem, so I hear
I
it's
would.
good.
My last point on, and not taking away from them, but in speaking with the devs we have, I feel like with these smaller, let's start from Kickstarter, everyone's working, and so the answers come from, like, me and Musa spoke to the dev of Cat Quest twice now. At first, I didn't realize
Quest is a good game.
I didn't realize he was the actual CEO. Like,
what?
Yeah.
Like, we talked to the founder. Like, I didn't realize that at first. And he's responding, and it's like awesome because he knows everything, because he's right in there with and not to take away from him, but like, I spoke to David Lee for Bend about Days Gone when I went to PAX, but that's his job. He's PR. He just does that. Like, sure, he has insight, but there's probably a disconnect because he's not on the floor with the dev for everything. He probably gets updates and he's told, you could share this, you could do this. Like, so I think it's different. Like, when these smaller, like the Kickstarter, sure, it's harder for them. They have to communicate, but I think they're able to, because more people know what's going on.
So I just want to share this really quick because it's hilarious. I was reading a review on Steam for Temtem, and it says the hours played, it's 170 hours, and then the person leaves a comment pages long ranting about the game, saying how they cannot recommend it, and they break it down by the day. Here's all the problems on days 1 to 3, days 3 to 6, and then it's like day 0 to now, and it's 8 days in. So this person in 8 days played 170 hours just ranting about how there's not enough game for them to play because they chain smoked that. It's insane.
They kept playing.
170 hours, and you're upset that the early access content is over. You chain smoked it, bro. You didn't sleep. You didn't try to get laid for the first time. None of that.
You said how many hours he played in the first 8 days?
170.
That only leaves 22 hours. 8 days is 192 hours. That's 22 hours for him to maybe sleep.
I don't know what. And just to say that all reality.
Jason,
Gotta play that Temtem, son.
You know what I mean?
I need to play it. Apparently, I have that kind of time.
Do you have any idea how hard these people work, guys? Come on.
Yeah.
Break.
Yeah.
Look, man.
Well, no, I agree with you where the guy's like, he's complaining about the game that there's not enough game to play, or they are even comparing it to someone who complains about a game that sucks and it's like a terrible game. And then they're like, well, I played 90 hours of it. And it's like, why did you play 90 hours of the game if it was terrible?
Bro.
But then on the flip side, you get people from the big media outlets who reviewed Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC and didn't beat 25% of it.
That was I did. How did that happen? I was like, that's okay. That was so weird.
How do you?
I only
like,
played 4 of
that?
14. It was too hard. This game sucks. I'm sorry. What? I got to the underwater stage in Super Mario Brothers. I died. I quit. This game's too hard for me.
Too much water.
This sucks.
Too much.
Oh, man.
All right.
Look,
my new tagline.
Game development is hard. Game criticism is hard. But if you're not in either field, don't play a game so long that all you're doing is spending 170 hours to whine. And maybe that's reductive. I don't know. But if you're not having fun, just don't play it. like this is why I led with my Kentucky Route Zero thing. Like if you're not in after Act 1, get out. It's okay. It's like abandon ship. But yeah. Okay, so let's get out of here because we've been going for a while, and I know that we could the way that this show has been going, we could keep talking for another couple hours. But I've got to go to work, and y'all got.
What was your longest podcast? I have to ask this because it went in my head.
My longest podcast ever?
Have you broke 4 hours?
Well,
I know you broke.
Nerds Gone Rogue episode, our first ever episode was like 4.5 hours, and I fell asleep in the middle.
Matt, how would you like sometime this year, to try to go for the world record for longest podcast in a day?
There's not enough coffee. I don't think I could keep. I mean, I don't want to know what the long. I mean, our first show was if we would have released it as one. We recorded it over 2 sessions, but if we would have released it as one show, it would have been 6 hours.
All right, guess what the record is right now?
A day and a half.
Moose.
3 days.
Jason.
2.5.
41 hours on June 2014.
So that's just shy of 2 days.
Long.
No, I'm not doing that. No. Well, I could, but I think after about.
We could do it. Don't let your dreams be dreams, bro.
That's not my dream. That's a nightmare.
We could do it. Trophy number 1. Trophy number 2. Oh,
geez, that would be. Okay, you know what? Okay, we're gonna start a Patreon. If we get to $10,000 a month, we will go for the longest. No, we're not doing a Patreon. No, we're not.
Now you're bringing it to another level. Now you're making me think the podcast never ends. You just live on the podcast. Just everybody keeps coming in, and it never ends.
You know what? When I start my new shift, because that's actually coming, we could start recording on a Saturday night and just keep going until Monday night. I will allow that. But for now, let's wrap this up. Antonio, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. You guys are very passionate about games. You love them and you play them. I don't play games. I don't have the time.
I don't talk to you enough, and I'm sad, and I regret that. So will you come back?
I absolutely will come back if we do it for 36 hours straight.
Okay, but barring the 36 hours, because that'll take some planning, because you're having a child. I have a wife who I have to really get permission from.
You're doing it right, man. Good job. Yeah,
Jason already has kids.
Thank you so much for I'll
Moose's wife will probably have something to say about this. And
His grandma might not let him sit in the room.
Okay, Antonio, where can we find your stuff?
Follow me at Hypecaster on Twitter. You'll find the links to everything that I'm doing over there at Hypecaster. Thank you very much for having me.
First of many, I hope. Please come back. Other than that, you know where to find us because it's in the front, it's in back. Check out Phoenix Overdrive because they do stuff for 6 kids. We'll see you on the next one.
Later.
Peace.
Story Route Zero, we have some cool friends who do some cool things, and I'd like to tell you about them. Phoenix Overdrive uses the power of games and gamers to help heal sick kids through the charity Extra Life. Phoenix Overdrive fundraises for Children's Miracle Network hospitals all year, every year, and the fun culminates in a 24-hour gaming marathon. Find out more about their events and projects online via Facebook at facebook.com/Phoenix Overdrive or on Twitter and Instagram at PHX_Overdrive. You can also join the Facebook group of Pawn Stars at facebook.com/groups/PO Nation in order to share and discuss all the latest in nerd culture. They've also got a podcast, Nerd Overdrive, which you can see weekly at youtube.com/Phoenix Overdrive. You can also catch it on Facebook Live or twitch.tv/PHX_Overdrive. That podcast is also published on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. You want merch? They got merch. Merch can be ordered from tinyurl.com/PHXODmerch, a portion of which goes to their fundraising efforts. Join the nation and be a hero to sick kids, as El Capitan Rey Osorio, Lee the Maestro, and Becky, the lovely queen of the guild, always say, #Rise Above. This has been an episode of Story Route Zero. Thank you for coming along on this journey. We sincerely hope you enjoyed yourself as much as we enjoyed having you. Once again, you can find everything we do at StoryRoute0.com. Hit us up on Twitter at StoryRoute_0, or you can email us at StoryRoute0@gmail.com. If you'd like to hit us up individually anywhere, you can find Moose at Sven, that's SVHENN, everywhere on social media. That's PSN, that's Twitter, that's Instagram. You can also find him on Twitch, streaming games. You can find Jason Marshall at GimpyJ, with 2 Y's at the end. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's Twitch, and he also has a website called whereisthepausebutton.com. Captain Canada is the only Story Route Zero exclusive. He's the only one you can only find right here on the show. As for me, I'm Infinite_Rewind everywhere I'd like to be. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's PSN, and Twitch. I also have my own website, InfiniteRewind.com, where I do all sorts of weird writing and rambling. Check us out at all the places. And remember, you are always welcome, and you will always have a seat waiting for you on this ride. But for now, it's back to the real world for us. We will see you on the next one.